Sylvetta, the last time that you were at this table, you made your way to an inn inside the city of Saval, which you had just arrived to that morning, that evening. It was like sunset. You went into this tavern with your partner Eladir, looking for a break, and instead you met somebody who appeared to be an Imperial from Alara, and ended up threatening you, almost attacking you. You killed him very quickly, and he turned into a flaming pile of black goo. You grabbed Eladir, you ran out, and that's where you left off. You are currently wandering the streets of Saval. It is nighttime. Where are you heading right now?
I think we're going to head back to the place that we were staying at to gather our gear, and then I think we are going to head immediately to the docks.
Okay, so I believe, I don't remember, and sorry to the listeners or viewers if we already touched on this. I believe that we ended off with Eladir already having gone and grabbing his loot.
Okay.
Which is all he really cared about. But because you were able to get your loot, you grabbed your stuff, you came back to the room, grabbed all your things, and now you're basically heading to the docks? Is that
Yeah.
you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you head to the docks. You see, when you get to the docks, there's all sorts of like greenery growing off of the beach. The docks themselves are like wood and stone. They're sort of like stone foundations that go into the water. And there's wooden piers and stuff that have been built on top of these stone foundations. But there's like ivy and all sorts of like ocean plants and things growing up onto these foundations and stuff. Very green, lots of palms, lots of ferns, that sort of thing. But at the moment, the docks are actually pretty quiet. You can hear people in the taverns nearby. You can hear people wandering around because it's only about 10 p.m. It's really not that late. So definitely a lot of people who have been working all day are taking a load off in the tavern. So you can hear laughing, you can hear music, you can hear the occasional conversation. But of all of the ships that you see here, they're all shut down, it looks like, except for one. There's one ship that you see that is currently being loaded. You see in front of you this really big black galleon. It's this giant ship, not the biggest ship in the port, but this big ship, multi-decks. You see multiple masts, right? There's 3 masts rising out of it. On the front sail, the main sail, the middle mast, the largest sail on the ship, you see a massive black eye that's been painted on it, with a sort of sunburst design around it. You see that the hull looks like it was once painted gold, but most of it has been like eaten away by the salt, and like there's just like pieces of gold that like sometimes shine with the torches nearby, mostly just wood color. And you see that the trim of the ship, which has been actually kind of kept up, is black trim.
Okay.
Yeah, multi-decked ship, huge ship, and it's currently the only one that's being loaded. But you and Eladir race down there. Eladir's kind of holding onto his loot, and when you stop at like the main kind of junction where the docks are extending left and right in front of you, you kind of look around, and Eladir's just kind of, what are we doing?
We're looking for that ship that guy told me about.
Yeah, and if you remember, actually, he told you about the captain. I don't think he told you the ship's name.
Right.
He told you the captain's name was Mish-Grim. So, I mean, you're looking around. You see one ship. It's up to you if you want to go to each of the ships and sort of look. You know.
Is there possibly a like a deckhand or somebody who like charts and like the ships on the
Yeah,
docks.
so like a dock master?
Yeah.
Usually, yeah, but not at the moment. You see that if there is one, they're not working right now. It's much too late.
Okay. So that ship that's getting loaded up, is there like crew that's like kind of like on the deck?
Yeah, like they're literally
Okay.
like in the process of loading things. You see that most of the crew looks really fucking tired.
Okay.
And they're just walking up and down the planks, and you see somebody who is, you can't really hear right now, but you see somebody is barking orders at them.
Okay. I'd like to go up to one of the people and just ask them if they know about the captain that I'm looking for.
You go up to one of the people that are loading the ship?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. They turn around, immediately start whistling at you. Like when you walk up, they're catcalling you. And you see Eladir, like, who kind of looks at you, just goes, okay. You walk up to one of the guys, you ask about the captain, and you hear somebody say, "Oi, Captain, somebody's looking for you." And you see this person who has like been barking orders turns around and looks down at you and just slowly starts making their way down the plank, the gangway, the walkway. I don't know, nautical terms. You see he starts walking down. Immediately, big smile, and pretty handsome guy. He's got like slicked back hair that's like kind of, it's long, reaches his shoulders, and then kind of wisps out at the end. Mm-hmm. He's got a very nice like goatee, beard, like trimmed mustache, like very elegant looking, handsome man. Looks to be like in his late 30s. Dark eyes, dark hair, dark eyebrows, everything. No gray or anything. He's very handsome. You see he walks down, he's also wearing like a big poofy white collared shirt, you know, black coat.
Okay.
Very, very elegant black coat that matches the ship in that it's black and gold and also looks like it's seen better days. But he's walking down the gangplank and he's got like a cane as he walks, so you hear this like tuk, tuk, as he's walking down. He's like, well, looks like a little fish has gotten herself lost. Oh, and she's a pretty one. What can I do for you, love?
I'm looking for passage to the Pale Lands, and from what I've heard, you might be the only one that could take us there.
Yeah, he looks you up and down. Not like it's surprising that somebody is trying to go to the Pale Lands, it's more like he's surprised that you're trying to go to the Pale Lands. Looks at Eladir, who is still out of breath, sees the little bit of sweat that's probably developed on both of you, and just, you running from something?
I'd like to say we aren't, but it seems like we are.
He like claps his hands. Oh, aren't we all? Well, I was actually just heading to Balva. I can take you if you can pay.
Oh, I can pay.
See, love, you have to understand, it's around 400 miles. That's like a week on the seas if we don't run into anything. That's gonna be 40 gold
Great, no problem.
each.
Yeah, that's fine.
You see, kind of like, wonderful, lads. He like points and like everybody starts like they're looking at like the whole time their like eyes were going from them or from him to you, from him to you, and then when you say the gold, they're like, holy shit. Immediately start like coming over to you like, oh, can I help you with the bag? Can I help you? Like, but somebody's trying to take the loot from Eladir, and he's like, stop, I've got it. You fork over 80 gold. Holy crap.
Perks of being who I am.
Yeah, money is not an issue for you. And you have officially been introduced to Shiloh Mish-Grim, captain of the Black Oracle. You see, he starts loading your things up. But by the time the sun is up, the whole ship is out on the ocean. As the sun is rising the next morning, it takes a few hours for everybody to load up and everything. But by the time the sun is rising, the city of Saval is behind you. And the sun rises and you see the entire, the Ring of Echoes in the center of the city with that giant palace and all of those statues around it that spiral around it. As the sun rises, the sun hits the hill, which, if you remember, has the veins of gold that are etched into it. Not etched, because it's just a natural formation. It looks like if they wanted to have built a mine here, they could have hit a jackpot, but instead of building a mine, they decided to build a palace on it instead. So you just see the veins of gold stretching up and around the massive hill in the center of the city. You see the walls all the way around it. Super far away, but as the sun rises, the whole hill starts to like glow as if you're like looking at a lighthouse or something. And you guys are out on the ocean. So before we get into anything, I want to ask you what it is that Sylvetta is trying to do over the next few days. Like in those few hours that the captain had you, and you know that in those few hours while the captain was loading the cargo and doing all of that stuff and prepping for the journey out, what are you doing, and what do you plan on doing over the next week, potentially maybe more?
Okay, so the first thing I think I'm gonna do is just kind of write a little bit in my journal about what had happened, and just trying to keep track of everything. That way we have kind of like records. So going to the tavern, meeting that one guy that gave us all the information about going to the Pale Lands, what he had said.
The ripped older man?
Yeah, the walrus mustache. Yeah. And then I'm gonna go into the details of, you know, the person that we met, and then that confrontation that we had, and then finding the ship, and then probably making little details about what I noticed about the ship.
So you're journaling? I'm
journaling right now, yeah. And then over the next few days, I would probably like to ask the captain for his any maps that he has of the Pale Lands and the general area and stuff like that. That way I can start comparing the map that I have that I got from those ruins.
When do you ask him?
Probably the second day, I would say. I'd probably give us a little bit of time to like kind of just adjust.
Okay.
I'd also like to talk to the captain himself too, just about his experiences.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a d6 for me.
Okay.
As you're heading out, still close to shore, right? Relatively only a few miles away from the shore. Go ahead and roll a d6.
A 5.
Okay. For the first day, it's really calm waters. And
Okay.
how much time do you think Sylvetta has spent on a ship?
Probably not much, but I would say probably more than the average person has, but not like enough to where she's obviously only ever been on them probably as like a child here and there, probably when her father went on certain excursions, things like that. Maybe a handful of times in her life.
Okay. Maybe been a few years at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for somebody who hasn't been on a ship in a long time, you're thinking, wow, this is really nice, like the winds are really calm, the seas are really calm. But you're not making any headway. The ship is barely moving, and you can hear a few of the crewmates who are, you know, just
because there's no wind or
exactly. It's a little too calm.
Yeah.
And you know, you're making time, right? It's not like the ship is just standing still, but it's one of those days where it's like, you know, it was a nice day out at sea, but without engines, the ship just isn't going as fast as you would hope and as fast as the crew would hope. And you can hear them talking, like, you know, getting bored and you know, shit like that.
Yeah.
So for the first day, nothing really happens. The sun rises, you leave the city, and the sun sets, and you haven't really made it very far from the coast.
Okay.
But the next morning comes, and you go up to the captain, you ask him for maps, which he kind of looks you over. You ask him, and he gives you a smile, and he's like, all right, come on. Takes you into the captain's quarters. You see the table, this table where you can see journals and a lamp and quill and ink and stuff. Like, you can see he's somebody who's very organized.
Yeah.
Starts going through papers, puts them on the thing. You see maps of Barbor. So Barbor is sort of a tropical wildlands. We'll call it that for lack of a better word. It is directly next to, right, like it across this river here is where the border of that area starts. The colony is on the other side of this river. Colonies. But from the little bit that you've heard of Barbor, it's basically a pirate haven.
Okay.
There's very little presence of any military power at all there. Like, people just haven't settled there.
Okay.
So it's kind of a place where nobody, like, sort of like a new world feeling, right? Like the U.S.
Yeah.
You go, you stake your claim, and if you can defend it, it's yours.
Yeah.
basically. So a lot of people who are running away or wanting a life of crime or trying to go somewhere where there's nobody else, they go there, find their peace along the coast. And it's led to a lot of growing thieves guilds and stuff like that because there's nobody to check them
Got you. Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
And the Empire has been thinking about trying to set up some sort of power system there. But he's showing you maps of Barbor, he's showing you maps of basically everything along the northern coast, Averseen and Dimdell and all of these places along the northern coast. He's showing you not exactly like a full map of each country, but sort of like here's what's all along the coast and, here's a little bit of the inside, blah, blah, blah. A lot of them look hand-drawn. Placed them to you, and the whole time that you're going through them, I imagine Sylvetta picking up a lantern and sort of, holding it up in front of her and digging through the things. He is leaning on the table, watching Sylvetta. He's just looking at her like, so what's someone like you got to do there?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but
I've got time, love.
someone very close to me has gone missing, and I think it has to link with something over there. So, just trying to see what I can find.
He gets a little. He feels like an asshole now, right? Because he's trying to hit on you a little bit,
Yeah.
try to flirt, and you're like, you drop some real life stuff on him, and he just goes, yeah, that's rough. Sorry, love, and kind of stands back up and, right. Well, you're welcome to take them, but just not in here. So, if you could just get out.
Yeah, I actually had a few questions for you as well. So, how long have you been going back and forth to the Pale Lands?
Oh, quite a few years now.
And how has been your experience?
These are dangerous waters. I don't really set foot on land. My place is out here, but it's a tough place. I hope you can protect yourself.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean,
You look like easy pickings.
yeah, I look a little easier than I actually am.
All right. Get out, please.
I will do.
You grab your things, and take them. Roll a d6.
6.
Okay. Weather is great over the next night. Nothing happens. You go to bed. You continue on to your second night. Things start to pick up a little bit. You're now very much in open water. You've traveled at least 100 miles at this point.
Okay.
So you're about a quarter of the way there. Nothing has happened, and you go to bed. Is there anything you want to do in particular before you?
Probably just share a drink with Elodie, just kind of chat. Apologize for him not getting the full lavish experience that he wanted.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. You promised me my own room, and I got it for like 4 hours, and then I'm now stuck on a ship. After you murdered someone.
Okay, you saw that goo, right? That was not a someone. That was a thing.
I don't know what I saw. It's fine. I love sharing a hammock with you.
I promise when we get back, you will have the experience that you want.
I will hold you to that, Sylvetta.
Yes, you can. I promise.
My own room.
Yes.
For a night.
If I have to sell my sword to do it, I will, Elodie.
Oh, there's no reason to get extreme. Is anything else that you do?
No, that's pretty much just it.
Did you mention, are you trying to pull out the map at all?
Probably like during the day I might have a little bit and compared.
Okay. You're looking, so yeah. You pull out the map. You're comparing the one that you found in the statue to the one that to the ones that he's got.
Yeah, I'm trying to basically kind of see if I can line up like the land mass shapes and then see if I can maybe chart some similarities on the newer map to that one, because that one, the original one was kind of missing things, right? Like it was just very quickly.
So the original one is not necessarily that it's missing things. It looks like it's drawn by a cartographer, right? Like, I mean, it's very clearly hand drawn by a person as opposed to being like a printed, like professional imperial like military kind of map or whatever.
Yeah.
It does look hand drawn, but where the problem lies is that there's this big red X, sort of in the continent, and by that I mean it takes up like a good 70% of the page. And then around almost like a frame on the paper, there's runes, but as you're looking at them, not just the runes shift, as in like they shift into different languages. Like you're looking at multiple letters, like different alphabets are just moving.
Okay.
They're shimmering. There's like this sort of bluish shifting into yellow glow in the ink that's written on it, which immediately, you're not super versed in magic. So you're not sure what's going on, but there's definitely something happening in this ink. There's some sort of magical lettering here, some sort of magical message. You don't know. And the X itself also seems to almost like blur and is not exactly in one place. It's not one size. There is something protecting this page that is making it hard for you to decipher anything other than the black outline of. So you can see the map, like the actual continent is not moving, but it's the stuff that was drawn on top to like reference things that is shifting and moving and very, very
Okay.
it's just blurring.
Can I possibly do like a history check or something that could tell me like, is there any of the languages that I could pick out and know like the language of them?
I will say this, make an Arcana check for me.
Arcana check.
Damn.
Natural 20 plus a 6, so 26.
Okay. Wow. You haven't practiced magic for yourself, but you have read some books, and in this moment, you remember a specific passage in one of the books that you read. Since you did study at the Institute of the Empire, you are looking at this passage, or at this map, and what you're seeing is not that it's shifting into different languages, it is coded magically. So there are some letters and words, and not even words, it's letters that you recognize, but it's like matrix language. You know what I mean? Like, it's shifting, it's gibberish.
It's a code of some sort.
It is, magically protected.
Would I possibly know of any way to... I don't even know.
Since you're not looking for anything on the map, you're just comparing it, make a perception check for me.
Okay. 13, 5, 18.
There is a small, almost... I don't know how to explain it. It's sort of like a small little mark on the bottom left of the entire page. You know how like paper, right? Like our paper is so compact.
Yeah.
And it's made so densely and it's bleached and stuff, so it's perfect white, right?
Yeah.
But handmade paper has this sort of like texture to it that you can look at the light and you can see the grain and stuff of the thing that was used to create it. There is what looks like a brand, or at first when you looked at this paper, this bottom left corner just looks like it's another piece of the texture, but it looks too purposefully placed and so different from the rest of the texture. You see what appears to be multiple moon symbols. So you see like a symbol. How do I explain it? Like, I'm trying to do this like flowery without just telling you what it is. What you see is what appears to be the planet and two moons next to it. It looks like, and they're crescent moons.
Okay.
And that just seems to be in the bottom corner.
Okay.
You look at that and you're like, that's weird. No idea what it is.
Okay. Would I... No, you say I don't know what it is. Will I know any way to uncode this magic?
Okay, so for that, I will say roll an investigation check.
Okay.
Nice.
16 plus 6, that is a 22.
Okay, with the 22, right, like, so you're perceiving things on this paper, right? You're looking at it, you try to understand the magic that's underneath it, you tried to take a better look at it, you saw this symbol, now you're trying to Sherlock Holmes some sense out of it.
Yeah.
And immediately, you're looking at that symbol, you're seeing the shifting, the light is hitting the page, the sun is like pouring through. Are you below deck or are you up top?
Probably below.
Okay. So yeah, you're down below. There's some light pouring through like one of the slats. There's like a porthole window there that it's currently open. They gave you like a good room, quote unquote. I mean, it looks like a storage closet basically, but they emptied it and you have a hammock on top of Eladir.
Yeah.
Like you're sort of squished in this part, but you're like laying in the hammock and there's light pouring onto it, and then you're staring at that little symbol in the corner, right? Like this is the part where the camera zooms in and you're just staring at it and you're like, moonlight. Moonlight, because you're seeing the sun hit this beam,
Yeah.
and it's shifting it even more, and you realize maybe it needs moonlight. That's where your brain goes.
Okay, so then wait for the evening, and then...
That's up to you, right?
Yeah.
But as you do that over the day, the sun sets, your second day closes. Are you...
Yeah, I'm gonna grab Eldir. Hey, Eldir, I think I figured out this map. Come with me, come on. And then I take him up
You're like kicking him under you?
Yeah, and I take him up to the top deck. Like, alright.
Won't even let me sleep.
Just, come on.
Just dragging his feet up the steps.
We gotta know the stuff, we're gonna go there, okay?
Yeah. You open the door as you head up. You open the door and immediately you're just hit by the sound of the ocean, which is starting to churn a little bit. You're in deep waters now and it's starting to get a little rockier. You've definitely felt it. And there's people on watch currently right now and there's somebody at the helm. And you go out and what do? You pull out the...
Yeah, I'm gonna pull out the map and look at it through... There's a moon tonight, right?
There's a moon.
Okay, I would like to view it.
Very, very Pirates of the Caribbean moon, where it's like there's some...
Clouds.
Yeah, there's some clouds. And there's actually multiple moons, you know this.
Yeah.
But there is one that is sort of like most present, which currently is shining brightly down on the ship.
Okay.
It's not like ours. Ours is white.
Yeah.
It's a very gold moon.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, without going into details. Anyways, so you pull it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna view it underneath the light of the moon.
Okay. Immediately the everything shift. Like it's like you pull it out, and as soon as you pull it out, as the light hits it, it's like vanishing ink. It just disappears. The X shrinks, and you see it shift below a mountain range. Somewhere deep in this. Like the map at that part does not is not very detailed.
Okay.
It just shows a shit ton of trees, like a forest, and the X sort of in there, sort of in like a southwesterly area.
I'd like to take a little bit of like my ink, and quill, and I want to just like, in the spot that now the X is at during the moonlight, I would like to actually draw on the map.
Okay,
the
smart.
proper X.
Yeah,
that way I know.
You mark it. What you also see appear in sort of blood red ink, in common, which I'll let that investigation check continue, was written later.
Okay.
You can tell by just the age of the paper versus the way the ink is.
Yeah.
You know, knowing your knowledge of history, which you do. Knowing how people wrote, and then the map itself looks to be much too old for this to be. What I mean is that because it's written in common, there's no way that a human was around in the time
that it was written.
That a human wrote whatever's on here in common.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's got to be sooner than the elves because the map is definitely elvish in design. You can tell.
Okay.
So there's no way that they were written at the same time. Your brain immediately connects that. You see this handwritten thing on the front. You see written there in common in a very beautiful kind of cursive font. It says, "Beneath the shadow of Arya's rise, the door that guards the world's demise. Shadows that hunted shall gather once more, the sleeping tyrant gathered for war."
I'm gonna write that down in my journal.
You write that down, and your brain starts turning. And that's around this time, you feel the entire ship, like the whole thing just stops. As if an anchor was dropped suddenly, somebody goes overboard. They got lurched forward and went over the railing, and you hear people start stirring under the deck. The captain breaks out, like he is shirtless, just in like trousers, like sleeping trousers. Opens the door, draws his sword, and he's looking around. People are like talking or whatever. There's lots of commotion. The whole ship has stopped. You heard it just creak.
Yeah.
Like it just and just like it hit something. You're not sure. Everybody starts drawing their things. What do you do?
I'm going to roll up the map, and I'm going to tuck it like in my shirt. That way I know it's kind of secured. And then same thing with my journal. I'm gonna tuck it away as well. And then I'm gonna draw out my short bow at first.
Okay. Eladier like reaches into his boot and pulls out a dagger, and he's just looking around. Everyone's scared.
Yeah.
You look around and you see that, like, you know, these are sailors. They're tough, right? They go back and forth across some of the most dangerous waters, and they're looking around like, oh fuck. You tucked your stuff away. You hear the one who is overboard, like people. Obviously, when the guy went over, people were like, "Man, overboard!"
Yeah, and people getting him.
Yeah. Somebody looks over and doesn't move. They just stay stuck looking into the water. And then somebody else is like, "What? Like, what's going on?" And he looks at him and he's like smacking him in the back of the head. He's like, "Oi!" Like smacking him over and over, and the person just looking, and then he follows his gaze, looks in the water, and like smacking him, freezes.
Oh, weird. Okay.
You notice somebody else on the other side of the ship does the same thing. They look over, they freeze. Immediately, Captain Mish-Grim is like, "Get away from the whales! Away from the water!" Starts calling out, and people start like drawing weapons, getting spears. You see people tridents, and immediately like everybody starts to go to the center, and they're looking around. The people that are frozen in place throw themselves over into the water.
Oh, okay.
They sink into the water, and you hear like churning. Something is around the ship, moving quickly, and yeah, that's what you hear. And Mish-Grim kind of looks around at everybody. He's like, "Mermaids." And that's where we'll end this episode.
Oh, shit.